Welcome to Point of View. I am Witumelo Zita.
And I am Baliswa Nhlahla. Today's show sheds some light on disability and education.
Imagine how difficult it is for a young person living with a disability, especially in our townships. This is where most of our young people reside, and more than 11,000 learners nationally are on a waiting list. They are waiting to be accommodated in a school that caters for their own special needs. Let that sink in.
And 25 years post-democracy, the state of our education has become a major talking point. And today we want to focus on the reality of those learners who have to deal with so much more than access to quality education. Learners with disabilities have a unique set of challenges, and despite the 5.7 billion rand the Department of Education has allocated for special needs schools, this Boitumelo is clearly not enough.
It's not enough, but today we meet the learners and educators behind the statistics.
This is where we have the important conversations.
This
is Point of View.
We are interested in your views. Please engage with us on social media by using our hashtag scarcity of special schools or hashtag SOS, that is SOSS. Our discussion for today is based on scarcity of special needs schools in townships. You or your family could be having problems or experiencing difficulties with this issue. What are learners who are living in the townships and are living with a disability experiencing? Often, families with children who have disability, they don't know where to turn to. Their journey is not only focused on education, but on the holistic care of their children. Mitchell's Plain has its own set of economic and social challenges. Carmen Laneman, her life changed when her daughter Jenna was born. Let's watch their story.
I used to dread going to the clinic because there was this one nurse. When I undressed Jenna and I put her in the, now she's big already, I put her on the scale. Mom, this child must sit. Why isn't this child sitting up? I would get so shy because the other mothers are all looking at me. Why is my child big? She's not sitting up. And one day I said to her softly, because she can't sit. Wow. I was pregnant with Jenna. There was nothing wrong. Everything happened at birth. It took too long to deliver, and that's where she had a lack of oxygen to the brain. So the doctor examined her, and then that is where they said, look, she has cerebral palsy. She had to go into a special school, so they could teach her how to not take care of herself, but do things for herself so that it would make it easier for me. The one school, I had an assessment, and then they said no, she cannot go there because the children that is at that school are children that can learn something. Because the top part is very sensitive of the mouth. This is normally a resistance when it comes to the top half. If you get a school, then the waiting list is very long. If you want to go private, it's too expensive. I can't go and work because I'm looking after. If it was outside of Mitchell's Plain, there was no transport coming into Mitchell's Plain. What they told me was, the best for Jenna is, seeing that she's low function, is that she needs to go into a special care center. Which I felt, no, then it's okay. She can stay at home. For the families of these children, for government to do something, to have more schools, to educate the teachers who are working with these children, that it's not just about a pay packet.
Thank you. Oh, another one, sorry.
It is so clear from what we have just watched that there is absolutely nothing like a mother's love. Thembalethu provides care and education to 250 learners. The school started off with only 5 children and has grown not only in numbers but also in the kind of support it offers. Nina Jacobs is the occupational therapist at the school. Welcome, Nina.
Thank you for having me.
Can you please tell us what role an occupational therapist plays at a special needs school?
Yes. So, the occupational therapist is involved in assessment and treatment of learners with various difficulties, such as gross motor, fine motor, handwriting, and perceptual difficulties. So, we use activities to try and identify what their needs are, and then we tailor treatment accordingly.
In terms of identifying the kind of needs that they need, what process do you go through in order to identify what they need?
So what we do is we do a screening and assessment. So we take the learner and we see what their abilities are, what they struggle with. So we use occupations that they need to engage in, whether doing things for themselves as well as accessing education, so all of the tasks and activities that they need to do at school. So we assess and then we treat using different activities.
Can you please clarify for us, because a lot of people get confused when it comes to disability and special needs. Is there a difference between the two?
Yes, there is a difference. So a disability is when an individual has a mental, cognitive, or developmental condition that interferes with their ability to engage in activities that they need to do part of their life. And then special needs are the accommodations or the adaptations that need to be made for the individual to engage in an activity. And special needs is used in the context of a school environment. So the adaptations that are needed for a learner to engage in school tasks.
In terms of a child who has a more complex disability, what as an occupational therapist can you advise a parent to do if they cannot be accommodated at a special needs school?
So there's a process that needs to be followed. So if the individual has an impairment or disability, then they need to be assessed by a medical practitioner to determine what diagnosis they have and why they cannot access schooling. But there are instances where there are institutions such as centers and different NGOs or places like that individuals can go to if they have highly specialized needs that for some reason they cannot attend school.
Do you get cases where you find out that a child has another disability that you were not aware of when you're doing your assessment?
It sometimes happens that they can be, but then you take into account all of the learners' difficulties or challenges, and there are instances where other conditions where there could be changes, and then you have to constantly assess and treat accordingly.
And in terms of schools that cater for specific needs, would you advise the government to build schools that cater for specific needs of children with disabilities?
So there has to be an assessment process, and we have to look at what are the individual's needs, what are the adaptations that need to be made, and then from there the government can make suitable decisions about what would be best to cater for all the individuals involved.
And just to conclude, what challenges do you face in terms of infrastructure and just working with the kids?
So the school is adapted to make sure that we do accommodate the learners. So then assessment has to be done of the environment, and then certain procedures need to be followed to ensure that the environment and all the accommodations are met.
Okay. Thank you so much, Nina, for joining us. And after the break, we will visit Thembalethu School. Welcome back to Point of View. We are still discussing disability and education. You have been very active on social media following our hashtag scarcity of special schools, hashtag SOSS. Let's take a look. Papi says we have no special schools in our townships. There are those learners who are slow and need special attention, which they never get in our school. And looking at the infrastructure of our schools, they don't favor any disabled people. McJoy Calvin says, before we even go to the schools, we need to discuss the ECD part of their educational well-being. Please do keep your comments coming, and we are going to go to the chat with Boy Dumelo.
Thank you so much, Baliswa. Disabled Children's Group advocates for the needs of disabled children in South Africa. When it comes to social integration, education, child's empowerment, this could not be more important to them. In studio, we have Sandra Ambrose, the National Coordinator from Disabled Children's Group, to give us some information into the inclusiveness of special needs when it comes to schooling, especially when we look at our townships. Welcome, Sandra. Thank you so much for coming. When we speak about special needs schools and the scarcity of the schools, seems like a conversation that has been going on for far too long. Hence, you have been part of the organization.
Yeah, definitely. The scarcity of schools is really there. Hence, Disabled Children's Action Group assisted parents on developing daycare centers so that at least we've got some placement of learning to put our children in. Disabled Children's Action Group is an organization that was started by parents for this very reason, that our children doesn't have placement for schooling.
Yeah, 12,000 of those parents. So you've garnered them all and make sure that you have a database of 12,000 parents. Those must be parents who are very proactive.
Yeah, definitely. We do have a database of those parents. When a parent take out, it works via membership. When a parent take out a membership, we then get all the details of the parent, and that is where we follow up and we follow through.
Yeah. So when we're talking about parents, you should be very clued up about the challenges that they experience, especially with the raising learners with disability. I want you to touch on the ground when it comes to transportation, when it comes to poverty, and also the syllabus of education. So just on those three categories.
Yeah, definitely there is various challenges that persons with disabilities and these parents of these children with disabilities face. And like you've just mentioned, transport is one of them. Accessible transport is very, very important, you know, because we all know that our children, our learners with disabilities or somebody on a wheelchair cannot just hop on a bus because it is not accessible.
Even those wheelchairs are a privilege.
Yeah, even that is a privilege. Assistive devices, it's very important if you want your child to participate in our education system. And then also all the services, the Department of Education plays a very vital role to have our children also included into the schooling system. We also know that there's special schools, like you've just mentioned, and then we also have our mainstream setting of schools that is also important. We as parents feel that it is important to have our children integrated into the mainstream of society.
So when you talk about, just to hold your thoughts, when you talk about mainstream education, are you aware of the CAP syllabus and the inequality that exists between the CAP syllabus and also the special needs syllabus? And do you have a problem about that? And what are you doing about it?
Yeah, definitely. We are aware of it. We know that there's learners that require sign language. We know that there is braille. There needs to be braille. We know there needs to be assistive devices. And most of those is it's not given to learners, or there's a scarcity of it. So for us, it is important for us as an organization to advocate so that these various departments that does give these services do give this to learners so that they can actively participate in our schooling system.
Yeah. How far do you penetrate when it comes to solution? Are we talking about manpower? Are you now maybe talking to parents, or obviously talking to parents? I'm talking about teachers, I beg your pardon. Are you clued up about the syllabus of teachers and also their content of their degree to help to equip them in order to spot the seen and unseen disability?
Yeah, we are aware of it. That's why we also advocate that teachers need to be trained. We are also aware there are teachers that are trained, but there's quite a few that is not trained. So there are those that are not trained, cannot spot the unseen disabilities. So we do advocate for training of more teachers.
Yeah, and closing the gaps of inequalities. What do you do? The campaigns that you do, is there something exclusive that you do for learners that are living with disabilities?
Yeah, we definitely campaign for learners with disabilities, and part of it is to get our children to participate into society. So and access the schooling system on an ECD level. So at the end of the day, we want to see them go right through to mainstream, to EFT colleges, and that is the platforms that we do participate, because we believe it's important for learners with disabilities to be treated equally as able-bodied children.
Definitely, as career professionals of the future. It is clear that not enough has been done when it comes to special needs and education, despite the statistics There are many educators, community members, parents, schools that are enriching the lives of learners with disability. One such school is Thembaletu, which provides care and support for learners from Guguletu and the surrounding areas. Let's take a look at their story.
They started Thembaletu in 1974. Started with 5 learners. We are the first people also to start at Thembaletu because my brother, she had a child, Uluthando, was also a student here at Thembaletu. Uluthando at the age of 3, she had a polio. Then she became paralyzed. I was the one who was taking Uluthando to Goma Physio and all that. And that is whereby I came to Thembaletu. But when I came here, I discovered that I need more skills in order to accommodate the learners of Thembaletu School. I started to inquire places where I can be equipped. Then I decided to go to school, back to school. Thembaletu is the only Xhosa-speaking school here in the Western Cape. That was, we had for the first time, although there are other schools, they are not actually as Thembaletu, because Thembaletu now stand as one of the outreach resource center to all the other schools around us. We normally used to have a disability awareness whereby we can teach and tell our community that they must let their learners come to school. They mustn't keep their learners at home. They mustn't hide at their learners because the learners got the right to education. All of the learners, they've got the right to education.
After the break, we meet with the 2 inspiring learners who have proven that a disability is not an inability. Stay tuned. Welcome back to Point of View. Living and learning with a disability is clearly a problem, especially when there are no infrastructure and opportunities and support does not exist. Providing a platform for learners to excel despite their disabilities is an important right.
It is an important right. We will be joined by Khanyisa Kufa from Khayelitsha, a grade 9 pupil from Thembaletu School in Guguletu, and she is determined to fulfill her dreams despite the challenges that she faces. We will also be joined by Siphenkosi Tolbati, a business administration student from Signa Academy. But before we get to the chat, let's take a look at Khanyisa's story.
Itherapy zasesikoleni zandincedisa ke ngozanika nenye into ekuthiwa yiwedge yobhalela for iba ilift up incwadi kwenzela izakufutshane ngam. Abantu abaninzi bayandijonga, xa ndisitya bayandithanda ndijonga, fike bendibukela, abanye bayahleka, abanye bayahleka. Kodwa apha engingqini abantu bayandazi abayenzi.
UKhanyisa ungulo mntana ungakwazi uzenzela nto. So ndimsiza ngokuba ndiyamhlamba ekuseni xa ndizoya esikolweni, funeka ndivukile, ndimhlambile, ndimnxibise, ndimtyise. Enye into uKhanyisa akakwazi ukuziyela kwindlu yangasese, so kuyanyanzeleka ukuthi ndimncedise. Akubikho mnandi but kodwa ngokuya kuhamba iminyaka sisitsho uba siyasiqinisa isomelela, naye uyayazi. Akasavi kabuhlungu kakhulu njengakuqala.
Ile ntembu nentle kangaka. Kaloku like ii-high schools abantu abanoma zininzi bagqithezela, so ii-high schools zethu thina zenzi-Afrikaans qha, so sisokola apho.
Ndirhalela ukuthi akhule afunde azokwazi uziphangelela afane nabanye abantwana kuba akho nto ohluke kuyo kakhulu abanye abantwana.
Zizinto abazenzayo nam ndiyakwazi udlala nabo xa kudlala ibhola nam.
Ndawuthi ujonga uThixo mkhulu ukhanyisa kaphazama.
Khanyisa and Siphe Nkosi, welcome to Point of View. Khanyisa, ubuziva njani ngalamini kwakukhona o-camera person bekulandela imini yonke?
Ndandidikiwe kwenye icala, ndandiniwe because ndiqala uyenza yonke laa nto. So bebendenzisa izinto kubana kuthiwa cut so ndandiniwe.
Kodwa wazama ukuzi-enjoya ke at least noba kancinci.
Ndazama because bandixa banizovela eTV so ndandonwabile.
Oh, at least you were excited about that.
Yes.
That is nice. Siphe Nkosi, people on social media are saying that people living with disabilities face a lot of challenges. What kind of challenges did you face, especially when you were in high school?
Well, yes, indeed, there are quite challenges. Because as we are disabled people, we are struggled maybe sometimes to come from a certain point to go to a certain point. Like in special schools, like I was glad that they are supplying us with transport, but I'm quite thinking if there were no transport for children with disability, how will like move from this point and get to other points? So yeah, quite there is challenges. Even like in a classroom, we are some other learners not getting it right to understand. We take it so long to understand, but as a special, maybe the teachers do explain there and there. So yeah, we quite facing challenges somewhere, somehow.
I do see that you are a very driven person. You are now doing business administration. Would you say that the education that you got prepared you enough to be where you are right now?
Well, in that case, I won't say the education I got. I will say what I have got and what I've known from the word education, because it was for myself aiming there, because I have that say I didn't have to go to school to make my dream come true, but to gain knowledge I have to go to school. So that's why I keep aiming from the start. So that's why I became a business admin.
You are definitely going to reach the stars, seeing just how hard you have been working. Khanyisa, masithethe ngamaphupha wakho. Xa uzibona emveni kuba uphumile e-high school ufuna uba yintoni?
Ufuna uba i-IT because ndiyathanda usebenza ngekhompyutha, so ndiyathanda nobhala kwelinye icala.
So esikolweni ninazo iiklasi ezidilishana nezinto ezidibene nekhompyutha?
Azikho, but I think kwango-2014 kwafika ubhuti Tebogo wasiteacha how to type, kwenza u-word yonke laa nto phaa.
Oh, okay. So wena Khanyisa, xa unonikezwa ithuba lokuba uthethe nengingqi le uhlala kuyo okanye urhulumente, ungathi bangenza ntoni ukuze bancede abantu abaphila with a disability?
Ndingathi mna ugovernment angasokhela iholo for thina abantu ba-disabled phaa ngenqini because sibaninzana aba-disabled, so that sizokwazi nathi ufundraiser abanye abantu abakhubazekileyo abangafikelelekiyo, like siba-fundraisele for bathengele laptops for ubhala esikolweni, abanye sibathengele iweje basebenzisa iinyawo so that bazokwazi ubeka iincwadi zabo babhale.
Wena, quickly, what would you say to the government?
I would say to the government, like, let makafumane like abantu otishara abaqeqeshiweyo, especially to teach the disabled learners, because there are teachers who there to get money. They don't like have the love to teach those like learners with disability. So I would say government maka providing learners as skillful to teach abantu disabled.
Thank you so much for joining us, and I wish you all the best in your studies. Now let's take a last look at the social media comments. Tato Morua says that lack of facilities in township schools force children with disabilities to attend schools that are further away. Tsediso Mulale says that it is not only learners with disabilities, even learners with learning difficulties are treated differently. Chair Moabi says that lack of much needed facilities is the challenge in some communities.
I have learned a lot about inclusiveness and the power of an individual. Everyone should have an equal opportunity when it comes to education.
And we recognize all the educators and parents who are going beyond the call of duty. Let's call on our education department to also go an extra mile.
Keep talking and keep questioning.
Thank you from the Point of View team at Big Fish School of Digital Filmmaking in Cape Town.
I am Witumelo Zita.
And I am Bali Swantlatla. This is Point of View.
Goodbye.